There's a Valentine's event in Pokemon Sleep, and I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't pick Taupe Hollow for this event in 2024. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's Bro Vinny here. In this video, I'm going to cover the information about the changes during this event week. I'm going to cover which area you should pick, and which Pokemon you should be aiming to catch during this event. Regarding the event information, there are three main things you should know about. Number one is that during this event week, it's guaranteed to be desserts. This is the first time where the dish type, the recipe type has been set for the week. So you can predictably prepare your ingredients for this event week. Stocking up your usual dessert ingredients like honey and milk or cacao for this event. And to go along with that, there's going to be two new recipes, and they will belong to desserts. And I'm going to guess that these two dishes are the new recipes. We don't yet know the recipes, but if I were to take a guess what these are made of, well, the developers say that the ingredients farmed by these 6 Pokemon that have boosted spawns, they will farm ingredients that are perfect for Valentine's Day. That's a little cryptic, but we can guess that that might mean there are ingredients needed, just like for the usual dessert dishes are going to be something like cacao, honey, because that's what these Pokemon farm. Possibly apple, but we'll just have to wait and see. And the second thing you should know is that all dishes that get cooked during this week are getting a 1.5 times boost. So you definitely don't want to be looking down on ingredient Pokemon during this week because they'll be worth 1.5 times more, and it will stack with Extra Tasty because it will become 3 times if you get Extra Tasty on a usual Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday it will be worth 4.5 times because usually Extra Tasty is worth 3 times on a Sunday, and 3 times 1.5 is 4.5 times, so these are stacked. So if you're lucky enough to get Extra Tasty, there's a chance that your ingredient Pokemon might even be as good as your favorite berry Pokemon. But Extra Tasty is random, so I would not use entire teams of ingredient specialists just because of this. You still want to make sure you have enough of a balance with berry specialists. Ultimately, ingredient specialists are useless if you can't fill up the pot anyway. So make sure you're cooking the best recipes possible and utilizing the pot space as much as you can. And the third thing you should know is, well, these 6 Pokemon that are perfect for Valentine's Day will get boosted spawns. And based on their wording, we can extrapolate that they're likely to be boosted for shiny rate as well. So while these 6 Pokemon can appear for any sleep type, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can appear in any area. In fact, the only area that has all 6 of the Pokemon boosted is Greengrass Isle. Other areas will only have some of those 6 Pokemon, which could be better if you're just trying to focus on 1 or 2 of the Pokemon to catch. Because at Greengrass, having so much variety means that you will have less of each. Which brings me to the second part of this video, and you can find this infographic under my infographics page on my Discord. So shout out to Banana Tanks for making this beautiful infographic which showcases what Pokemon is in each area. And very quickly you'll notice that, well, Jigglypuff is very lonely at Taupe Hollow. And there is a very good reason why you probably shouldn't hit up Taupe Hollow, as I said at the start of the video. Number one, Jigglypuff are a pretty common Pokemon. You shouldn't need to rely on this event to farm it. Number 2, it has been power creeped by Ralts and Gardevoir. So if you've already caught a good enough Ralts and Gardevoir from the previous event, the Lakeside event, or you've unlocked Lakeside, well, that's probably where you should be farming your Energy for Everyone healer anyway. Number 3, you shouldn't catch a Jigglypuff, you should be catching it as Igglybuff, because even if you can't catch Ralts yet because you haven't unlocked Lakeside and you missed the Lakeside event at Greengrass, you should be catching Iggly because it costs less to catch, gives you more stages to evolve, therefore more skill level but also more inventory, which means better skill trigger. So all in all, I have no idea what Jigglypuff is doing in this event, and I really don't like it. To me, it's just diluting everything else. No hate for Jiggly. I have a Wiggly that I've fully invested in. I'm just saying I don't understand why it's in this event. Yes, it farms honey and it's pink, so it kind of is, you know, in theme with Valentine's. But otherwise, I'm not that excited about Jiggly, so I'm not going to recommend Taupe Hollow. As for everything else, well, that depends on what you want. For me, my goal during this event would be the boosted spawns for Absol, so where possible, I'll be at Snowdrop Tundra in order to get Absols, because there's less other spawns, and as long as you can get a good enough rank with Snowdrop Tundra, so the minimum requirement for Absol to appear at Snowdrop is Grade 2, and the minimum requirement for Absol to appear in Greengrass is Ultra 2. Having said that, Absol is actually easier to meet the minimum requirements at Greengrass because it's 93,000 strength, whereas at Snowdrop it's 105,000, which is actually more. Regardless, if you can build up a powerful enough team, then Snowdrop Tundra is a good choice for Absol. You can find these charts under quick guides in my Discord. Link in the description below. Now, you should know that even though I do want a good Absol so that I am set up for future cacao and apple farming, Absol is really hard to catch. In fact, it costs 16 friendship points in order for you to catch an Absol. So if you want to try your luck and minimize the cost to catch an Absol, you might want to run a good camp ticket so that hopefully you get a hungry status on an Absol. But then if it's shiny, you're in luck because it will only cost you 1 Poke Biscuit to catch it. Regardless, 16 friendship points is a lot, so it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to focus on building strong teams for each of the areas in this game, you probably shouldn't start with Absol. Absol is an ingredient specialist. In fact, out of all of the boosted spawns during this event, the most important one, if you haven't already caught one, is Chikorita. Chikorita being the only berry specialist that's boosted during this event. So if you can catch a good one, that's great. Hopefully one with Berry Finding S, because that would prepare you for, that's right, Lakeside, where grass type berries are favorite. Now, thankfully, if you're not actually prepared for Lakeside because you don't have a strong enough team, and if you're trying to farm for Chikorita, well, you don't have to do it at Lakeside. You can do it at Cyan Beach or Greengrass Isle. You've got 2 choices. So if you're really focused on getting a good Chikorita, maybe go to Cyan Beach, because then you can predict exactly what berry types you need that week, that event week, and get you as much points as possible. As for the other Pokemon, so we've got Pinsir and Bulbasaur, who are both quite similar because they are both at base honey ingredient specialists, so these 2 guys. But during this event, the main difference is that Bulbasaur is only available at Lakeside and Pinsir is only available at Cyan Beach outside of Greengrass Isle. So if you already have a good Bulbasaur, maybe go for Cyan Beach so that you can catch a Pinsir and vice versa. Now I would say that Pinsir is better at desserts because Pinsir actually has apples at level 30, whereas Venusaur is tomatoes or potatoes at level 30 and 60. So if you're after an ingredient specialist that focuses on desserts, then that would be Pinsir over Bulbasaur. But besides that, I don't really see the value of Pinsir. Bulbasaur has Ingredient Magnet S, whereas Pinsir only has Charge Strength S, and I find that Ingredient Magnet is more valuable. And while Pinsir is faster than Venusaur, it has the weakest berry, the Bug-type berry, of all Pokemon. And it also requires 16 friendship points to catch, which is very expensive, whereas Bulbasaur is only 5. So once again, not for the faint of heart. So for beginners, I definitely recommend focusing on Bulbasaur. And if you still haven't unlocked Slowpoke Tails, well, now's a good chance to do it, because in 4 of the areas you can actually catch Slowpokes. So as long as you don't choose Taupe Hollow, you'll be fine. And if you are hunting for one, make sure you try to at least get a level 30 Slowpoke tail, ideally both level 30 and 60. And because of Slowpoke's uniqueness in this game, Anything that belongs to ingredient specialists, like ingredient finder, also helps because it's the only tail farmer in this game. Although some people use ingredient magnet as a way to farm them instead, but you do need to unlock it first. And because it is also a skill specialist, all of these are good for Slowpoke. And of course, Berry Finding S is just good on any Pokemon. Now the final thing I want to talk about in this video is which area are you going to be able to achieve the most dessert strength? And this is a qualitative analysis, it's not a quantitative analysis. We're not doing maths here. We're just going to use our gut feeling to see which area will actually use desserts the best. And the way to look at it is, well, to build a team for each area and then seeing what you've already got for ingredients. So the way I would do that is using your 5 team pages, build a team for every area, except for green grass since you can't predict the berry typing, by first focusing on berry specialists that match the area. So for example, in this case, Feraligatr is my main farmer for Cyan Beach. And it doesn't really do much ingredients for desserts. It does do some oil. And if we use Rainix calculator, we can actually see what recipes use oil. And first of all, we're going to select desserts. We're only going to isolate desserts. And then we're going to click oil to see what recipes use oil. So in my case, if I were to use Feraligatr and I'm going to Cyan Beach, those oils would be able to be used for explosion popcorn, which is a pretty powerful dish for 36 ingredients, but otherwise only able to cook one of these other dishes which are a bit weaker and use less ingredients. And if we want to see their recipe bonus, we go to Cooking and Recipe Calculator. Then under Desserts, once again under Desserts, we scroll down and check the Explosion Popcorn, which has a 35% recipe bonus, which is pretty high. It's not the highest, but it's pretty high. However, I still haven't unlocked corn, nor have a good corn farmer. So for me, oil is useless because I'll have to cook one of the other 2 weaker dishes. So maybe Cyan Beach isn't the best area if my best Pokemon doesn't give me some ingredients for the things I need. But before we call it quits, we should have a look at the rest of my Pokemon for Cyan Beach. So I've got Wiggly and Slowbro, and these 2 I swap out frequently depending on what I need. So does my Wiggly and Slowbro provide me with what I need? Yes, so Jiggly does provide me with honey, and Slowbro does provide me with cacao. As for why I use Slowbro, it's because of Berry Finding S. I'm not recommending it for everyone, and I only use it at Cyan Beach. I don't use it in other areas because it doesn't benefit from that BFS as much in other areas. But Slowpoke tails are not used for desserts. Having said that, there's no harm of farming Slowpoke tails. I can keep it for other weeks. It's just not necessary for this Valentine's week. Cacao is used. So once again, let's go back to our recipes and dishes, and let's this time isolate for honey. And there's a lot more dishes that use honey in desserts, and they're fairly powerful ones at that. Fruity Flan has been one of the top tier dishes since the start of the game, but Fruity Flan has been power creeped by Tea Time Scones. Regardless, it just opens up more options for us. If Wiggly is going to be in my team the entire week anyway, farming those honey. As for cacao from Slowbro, let's take a look. So we've got Steadfast Ginger Cookies, which is not as powerful in terms of the base dish strength, but it can utilize honey as well without wasting too many slots for other Pokemon, since I'm going to have Wigglytuff on my team anyway. So as you can see, you'll have to do the analysis for yourself because what you have for your ingredient list may be totally different to me. You might not have oil in this slot. You might not have honey in this slot. And I'm not going to look at these 2 Pokemon because I can swap them out for whatever I need in order to complete certain dishes. So let's go to the next area, that is Taupe Hollow. Now, like I said before, don't choose Taupe Hollow because it's just Jigglypuff. But if you really wanted to do Taupe Hollow, let's take a look at my team. and see what it can farm. And my strongest unit is the BFS helping bonus, Marowak. Unfortunately, it only farms ginger, which would be really good if I had unlocked corn, but I haven't. So, the only other ginger dishes I can do would be steadfast ginger cookies, which wouldn't be too bad if I can farm all of these other 3 ingredients naturally using my Taupe Hollow team. But unfortunately, there's no one in my team in Taupe Hollow that really farms honey or cacao. Now, I haven't worked on my Taupe Hollow team for a long time, so there's something that I'm not actually going to use. So Berry Tattoo here is actually probably going to sub out for something like Jiggly, so I'll change that now. So now I do have a honey farmer. But this honey farmer is not as powerful as it is at Cyan Beach because it's fairy typing. As for the other Pokemon that I have, I don't have a Cyndaquil, but even if I did, it'd probably just be Gingers. So once again, not helping. And otherwise, I have tomatoes, leek, I have sausages, and I have again more tomatoes. I could change this one out for a golem, which would only give me beans. And honestly, if you look at all of those ingredients that I could farm at Taupe Hollow, let's take a look at leek. Well, there's nothing. Nothing at all. So duck trio is useless. Beans, well, there's, some weak dishes. Hustle protein smoothie. For tomatoes, this is a really weak dish. Would not recommend. So I probably wouldn't recommend running Sudowoodo anyway, unless you're really short on team members. But the other ingredient the duck trio farms is also tomatoes. So my Taupe Hollow team would match really poorly with desserts. Which is great news because I don't recommend going to Taupe Hollow anyway. And by the same token, let's take a look at, rain. So for my Snowdrop team, I've actually got very similar ingredients to the Feraligatr. So let's take a look and see if sausages are needed in desserts. And to no one's surprise, they're not used in desserts. And the other berry specialist I use often at Snowdrop is Houndoom, which has herbs and ginger. We already saw ginger, so let's take a look at herbs. And again, there's absolutely nothing that you can cook with herbs. And this should be no surprise if you've been using Chisel's guides, which tells you what ingredients are never used in which recipes, recipe types. So for example, for desserts here, 0 dishes use leek, herb, sausages, and tails. And only 1 dish uses soft potato, tasty mushroom, or snoozy tomatoes. And you can see the dessert type up here. And for my berry tar, again, ginger and beans, not that useful for desserts. And the final 2 members, once again, just subs in depending on what I need for ingredients to finish off dishes. I will probably run a Jigglytuff like this, so I get some honey for the dessert weeks, but also keeps my Pokemon generally pretty healthy. And so that brings me to my Lakeside team, which is going to be the most interesting one of them all, because the strongest Pokemon, the strongest berry type Pokemon, is Meganium for Lakeside. And surprise, surprise, it is focused on desserts. It does both honey and cacao, which can be used for Jigglypuff's Fruity Flan or Steadfast Ginger Cookies if you can't afford the Fruity Flan. And if you're really struggling for ingredients, you could drop down to Lovely Kiss Smoothie. The point is, there are options, and the strong options are included as well. As for Venusaur, it can also do honey, which is great. Tomatoes, not so much. And I've shown you guys my Wiggly before. And once again, the remaining 2 slots just to sub in whatever you need to complete the dishes. Be it corn farmers, apple farmers, or egg farmers, or whatever you need. So to me, if you're looking at maximizing the rewards from your 1.5 times bonus using desserts this week, this Valentine's week, Lakeside actually makes the most sense. Of course, you'll have to assess your own team members to see what's suitable, because my argument would only apply if you actually had a Meganium and had a Venusaur that farms these ingredients. So, in conclusion, there's two things you really need to think of when you're deciding which area to pick. Number one is which Pokemon do you actually want to catch? And number two, which area can you most effectively use that 1.5 times bonus for dish strength? Having said that, if you don't have a strong enough berry typing for that area, let's say you don't have a good Chikorita for Lakeside, well maybe don't choose that area anyway, because you're not guaranteed to get critical cooking if you're thinking that that's going to carry you through the week. So which area am I going to pick? For my personal reasons, because I already have a good enough Chikorita, I don't need to worry about going to Cyan Beach. I'm definitely not going to Taupe Hollow for so many reasons. I would like more Dratinis, Ralts, and Stuffles, so I'm interested in Lakeside, especially getting that 1.5 times boost for the dishes. Having said that, Dratini, Stuffle, Ralts spawns would be getting nerfed by these being boosted. So I'm probably not going to choose Lakeside either, even though I want to be there. And I can get good ingredients for desserts. I'm just generally not a big fan of Pinsir, so I'm just going to cross that out, and I don't want Jiggly, and I've got a okay enough Slowpoke for now, and plus Slowpoke's also available at Snowdrop anyway, so my decision is at this stage going to be Snowdrop Tundra, but if I change my mind, you guys will know about it just before the event. Hopefully that's shed some light as to which area you should pick for your Valentine's week, and if it did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe.